Well, it's a pleasure. Thank you. Thanks for coming to visit with Baiada today. And I think I have, it was 9:15, so we have about a half an hour now to go. So I'm going to give a little background on myself, the company, and then have a little bit of a Q&A. But first, I'm Mark Baiada. I'm the founder and now the chairman of BAYADA Home Health Care. I live in Morristown, New Jersey, which is about 10 minutes away from here. And you're in our, what we call our global support center, our back office, our service center, this building and the next building. So this supports with all the back office functions, accounting, IT, HR. This is a learning center. People come in. 360 US offices, and then we have offices in 7 other countries. Smaller operations, right? For our missionary operations, hopefully they'll be big, with Ireland being the flag leader right now and doing really well. I live with my wife, Ann. She's a nurse, been working with me a long time, home care nurse. I have 5 kids. Our son David is now the president. I'm the chairman, so I'm in governance. He's the president, or the CEO. He's in management. We make a distinction there. But 3 work for the company. David's the president. Kelly is an attorney. She's a chief compliance officer. And Janice is put in a whole history center, the archives of the company, so we can record what we're doing for the future. And 2 others, one's a nurse, but she's not working as a nurse now. She's taking care of a child with disability. Another is a hospice social worker who's taking care of her young kids. So we're all kind of involved in healthcare somehow, a long time. So I grew up in South Jersey. My grandfather was the barber in Riverside, New Jersey, Italian immigrant from Sicily. So he was, and my grandmother was proud, hardworking, but illiterate factory worker. And they put on us, you're here in America, let's work hard, get ahead. So I ended up I went to St. Pete's Grade School in Riverside, Holy Cross High School. And then my father was lifetime Navy, so when he got out of the service, he started an insurance business in the house. My mother was did the administrative work. He was the sales work in Riverside, Delran. And so we didn't have any money, so I went to Rutgers in Camden. I went to Rutgers in Camden for 3 years. Then they said business picked up, so I got my final degree at Rutgers College in New Brunswick. Growing up, I'm the oldest of 6 sons. And there was like an entrepreneurial, hardworking, there's nobody rich in our family, so it was, but one uncle had a trucking company and warehouse, Uncle Jack. Uncle Frank he bought and sold large printing presses in New York City. We thought these people had more money than God, so whoa, look at Uncle Frank and Uncle Jack, so they're kind of like my role models. If I was young, I wanted money, I had to work for it. So I paid 2 different paper routes. I thought everybody read the bulletin. I was surprised when it went out of business. And sold cards door to door, shoveled snow, mowed lawn. If you wanted money, you had to earn it. So we had this work ethic and hustle ethic immigrant ethic from a long time. I was always a good student in school, so academically that was it was okay. And then I graduated. So I graduated from high school in 1965. 69, I graduated from Rutgers College, and this is the Vietnam War. Everybody may have been in. So I rushed to get my MBA at Rutgers in Newark because they had a program where you could get credits for undergraduate courses to beat the draft. And then I went into the National Guard. And actually, the National Guard was a transformative experience for me when I went to anybody do active duty here? Yeah. Not many people out there have done active duty anymore, right? I'm in this room sometime with our younger people. Nobody's done active duty. Boy, they're not used to getting yelled at, you know? So you go to I was at National Guard, just enlisted, go to Fort Knox, Kentucky, you get off the bus, they start screaming at you, right? They shave everything off your head, they take every bit of clothes, including your underwear, and the least infraction, you're doing push-ups, you're running, or you're in the low ball pit, which is 25 yards of mud and sawdust, right? And they kind of like football coaches, they're trying to grind you down so you listen. And they have a tough job. They got a motley group of people coming in there, from all walks of life, all walks of life. So, but you have time to think. So I had time to think. So I'm there, I graduated from college, I had my MBA, my life is in front of me. I say, what do I want to do in my life? I said, I want a business. I want a big business. And so why not? So, and actually I took a philosophy course when first you go to basic, you go to AIT. So I was a tank driver, right? So, but I took a course at night, and there was an influential person in my life. Actually, he was going to Harvard Law School. He was a captain, African-American captain, but he was brilliant, this guy. And he really had an effect on me. So we're now reading philosophy. I'm in training, and I'm reading philosophy. I was like, I'm a little weird already. But he read, and I just had it for another thing I was doing. John Paul Sartre. He said, "You have total freedom in your life, and only not that you're condemned to it. That means you have to choose what you want to do, and your only moment is now." Oh my God, my only moment is now, and I have to choose what my life is. So it kind of hit you. It's all up to me. So I said, all right, I want to have a big business. I'm going to double down on that. I made my choice. I'm going to, well, how are you prepared to get into business, Mark? You have any money? No, I had college debt. Well, that's a problem. So I said, I have to save money like crazy. So save money like crazy. 2, how do you feel like your ability to found it, manage it, build it? Now I'm stuck to green. So I feel people with big companies, they know everything. They know everything. So I have to learn. So I have to get out and work for some companies and learn. And then when I build my money, I build my competency, at that point, then I'll try to launch the business, which all I wanted to do is I wanted a successful business. I remember, I want coast to coast, I said to myself. So I went to work for the American Thread Company, which is now defunct, like a lot of textile businesses and the consumer products in marketing research. I like research. So I solve problems by what's the goal in getting information, almost like an engineering approach to business. And I took courses at night, read business books, read all the business magazines. I remember I told myself, I want to be a student of American business. I want to know how it ticks, how it works, from an economic, business management, all the different aspects of it. And I was marketing oriented, so I see businesses meeting people's needs for products or services. That intersection is where we're coming in to meet someone's needs. We're here to meet people's needs. So I worked there, and then I was recruited to go work in Manhattan. That was in Connecticut. I was recruited in Manhattan to work for Avon Products. Same in marketing research, but this is now a well-run international company. But it was a big bureaucracy, I'll tell you that. Yeah. So I worked there, and living in Manhattan, that was good, so I'm getting more knowledge. So I took, remember Easter Sunday, 1974. It was Sunday. I'm in my 5th floor walk up at 33 West 69th Street in New York, saying, all right, am I ready? How much money do you have? $16,000. I just calculated it this week. It would be 88,000 in current dollars, 88,000 in current dollars. And well, maybe that's enough to get going, right? Then the next is, well, how do you feel about your business knowledge? I conceptualized it. I said, yeah, I think I understand generally how it works right now. I've worked for 2 big companies. I have some experience. I read a lot. I kind of felt I'm enough to get started. So I said, okay. Now it's sometimes easier to prepare for something than it is to do it. So, now we got to go and start this business. All right, in market research, I need criteria. 1, I want to do something helping people. I don't want to, I'm going to make my life's work. I want to be of service to others. I want to make the world a better place. I mean, when I was young, I wanted to be a priest when I was young. So I wanted to help people. Then I met girls, and that didn't work out so good for me, right? So helping other people. I remember specifically saying to myself and conceptualizing it, I don't really want to have, if you gave me a casino or a liquor company, I really wouldn't want it. Nothing, I drink, I'll go to a casino, but I didn't want to make it my life's work. I'm nothing against it, I just want to make it my life's work. So I had to have something I could get into for $16,000. That's all I had. I have no nobody in my family would do it. Plus, I didn't want to borrow any money. That's like a monkey in the back of your borrow money. 3, I wanted something where it was scalable and reproducible across the country. I want a product or service I can sell everywhere. Mass selling. And the next one was actually probably the most thoughtful, but the most helpful. I wanted something where the demand for the service was going to increase steadily on a long-term basis. I mean, multi-generational. So, give you an example of something that I wouldn't have done. I wouldn't have gone to Blockbusters. There's 8,000 of those, down to 1, I think, and it's a porn place. So you have to get something where the underlying demand is. So I started looking at different businesses that meet the criteria, and I came across home health care. Certainly helps others. And my grandmother lived with my Italian grandmother, so I saw the needs of the elderly in the home. 2, it's a low cost of entry. There's tons of competitors there. Because somebody now you can start with a cell phone almost, right? So, because you just hire an aide and advertise your services. 3, it was reproducible. There were a couple of companies back then that were franchising across the country. So I talked to them and I talked to their franchisees. I took about 25 of them across the country. And they were growing their hours, they're building the business. And so I said, current state, things were growing. They were meeting the need in the community, which most people didn't know about. Then I said, well, what about the long term? So here I go to the library, no internet, go to the library. What are the population projections? Well, for older people, boomers, it's going to go like this, steadily growing. And now it's even growing, and 85 plus is even growing a little faster than it was then. So I did project that. But what about traditional caregivers? Tends to be the daughters most times. In my case, we only had 6 sons, so I became daughter. I took care of my parents. So the number of women in the workforce was going up. Number of women in the workforce, that means there's fewer to take care of mom. The number of family sizes going down. Like we're almost like replacement. On birth rate, we're below replacement now. Immigration is keeping our population up. Like China's going south now on population. And the other is social dispersion. Like kids don't live near you anymore. Like they're in different states, right? Different countries sometimes. So the traditional caregiving pool isn't there. But like, oh, well, this is all well and good. So there's nobody to take care of mom, but who's going to pay for it? So, well, let's look at the GDP. Well, the rule of 72s, I'm a believer in the magic of compounding. The rule of 72s, if it grows at 2% a year, the economy will double in 36 years. That means there'll be twice as much money, and it did. It grew, right? So the economy is way bigger than it was when I first started. So there's more money around, so there's more personal money, government money to pay for services to replace the ones that kids get. So that was my going-in thesis. The business is there, the business is growing, the business is reproducible, the business is here for the long term. I'm in. So, live in Manhattan. I said, so I started around here where I grew too small. Manhattan was like, New York's a crazy, I didn't understand it that well, because New York is New York, right? That's bigger. So this was too small. I said, I'll go to Philadelphia. I'm a Philadelphian, but seldom went to Philadelphia. Even I delivered the papers, I rooted for the sports team, I watched the TV, but I'm a Philadelphian. So we started right in Center City, 1426 Walnut Street. Which is right near the nexus of transportation, right there, Broad Street line, and the L. So it was a good location. It was me, a recent college graduate. I was 27, 1975. So 22-year-old, and Marty, just graduated from Muhlenberg. So I was greener. We did hire Bev Altman, who was a nurse whose kids were in high school, and she wanted part-time. So that was good. So now I had the business figured out. I knew what the model was. I'm pretty good. And one big blind spot. I never had hired anybody. I never had managed anybody. I never had let anybody go. And I'm assuming anybody doing home health care, of course you're going to be, as our 3 values are, compassionate. And because you're compassionate, you're going to do good work, and of course you're going to show up. How come you let somebody down? whew, the normal work world is not as clear as I thought it would be. So, but the good news is I'm very responsive to problems. In fact, I almost like it. So when there is a problem, I would I'm a fire and put the fire out. You don't sit and worry about what caused it. Put that fire out. You know, there's a problem, bam, take care of it. It's like, don't cry over spilled milk. Just, you know, clean up before it soaks into the floor. Come on, the floorboards. So it's just responding to problems quickly. Just a problem to deal with. I'll figure this out in the long run. So all the hiring, managing, getting the right people, building trust with people, knowing who you can count on, who you can't count on, the whole art of management, which was like new to me, but I had like a what's the word? A forced course, like an immersive course because I was hit with the problems every day. In the meantime, I'm doing the accounting, the marketing, the logistics of it all. I'm trying to get the operational systems down. So I didn't have a second office for 4 to 5 years because I want to make sure I understood the business well enough I could put the reproducible model. So the nice thing, when I want to now start growing, I want to start other locations. Right? I'm not going to be coast to coast with just Philadelphia. So we didn't have anything written down. We didn't have it written down, our value system, what we stood for. It was kind of just all group of people were orally, they were committed to great service and taking good care of the staff, being honest and hardworking. We're like classic, honest, hardworking, build trust, count on us. And so we were building our caseloads, you know, and we would do it mostly by word of mouth. And if we got a social worker at Jefferson Hospital, we made sure that we were in good communication, and she'd give us another referral minute, or at the lunch table, she'd tell her fellow social worker. So we were building a reputation slowly but surely. Actually, I also, this is a marketing research, I disintermediated early. I didn't have a sales force. I was figuring out ways that we could place ads. Little ads in the newspaper, Jewish Exponent, direct mail. I was all doing non-face-to-face sales marketing successfully. If I was doing digital now, I'd be on fire right now because I like that kind of stuff. So we were growing, but the way I solved the culture problem, which is how you operate and you want to reproduce it, is I started promoting people. I gave the people in the office, a chance to build their own careers. And you want to have your own office. So I transferred Jimmy to Delaware, Linda to North Jersey, Kathy to South Jersey, Tom to North Carolina, Denise to Denver. They're all from the Philadelphia office. And so now we're starting BAYADA culture and all these places. So now we're spreading the culture. You know, we had a model to work. And we knew we could work faster. But we knew we could work better and faster than the competition. We just knew what we were doing. We knew where they were coming from. I mean, there's some great agencies, but you miss a beat, we'll go right by you because we're on top of everything. We fill the cases quickly, keep them covered, keep our word, just honest, hardworking, heavy communications and operations. You know, nothing fancy. Just get the job done for the client and take care of the staff. God bless them. That's the heart of what we do. So we started going to different locations, and now we started as an aid service. Personal care and support services for the elderly. And we started going to adjacent services, adult nursing. So now skilled nurses, some people need nurses at home. The Medicare program, which is huge, that's like $20 billion a year now, and that's visiting nurses. You come out, you get a nurse and a therapist for like 30 days, 15 visits. Hospice programs, state Medicaid programs. There's a lot of assisted care that's provided through Medicaid programs. So the Philadelphia Corporation for Aging was one of our original clients. So we started going to adjacent businesses. We're doing more services in more locations, and we have a team that we're giving people promotion and growth opportunity to build successful career for themselves. So we kept building it up, going into more businesses. I moved to New Jersey in '82 because I was working right in Philadelphia. And I was in the office, and like I knew everybody. So I had a caseload for 5 years. And when you're in the middle of everything, it's hard to it's hard to run the business and plan the business. So there's an expression, work in the business or on the business. So I was caught in the business, but you have to step back and be reflective sometimes about being on the business, right? So all the different drivers. So I moved to Morristown in 82, started in 85. And I had a few offices at that time. So then it was a little office behind the 7-Eleven where we did all these functions in these 2 buildings. We did the payroll, we did all in this one little building because we didn't have that much action or volume. So we kept growing. Still, we didn't have anything written down. I think I wrote a mission statement already. But then we're growing, and I decided that we really, as we're getting bigger, we have to write down what we stand for. We have to really, what do we stand for, so people know. Because we started these new offices, and then we would get people, there'd be some turnover, and people would come in. So how can we build a value system? This isn't a culture and a value system. The system you have in a services company, which the clients are really, that's why the clients come and why the employees want to work there, the staff wants to work there. So we got into, I wanted to write it down. Like, oh, it can't come just from me. And that wouldn't be, dictate to everybody. So I had a psychologist who took care of his son, Jack, with spinal muscular atrophy, which is a pretty progressive disease. You need round-the-clock nurses. And we did all focus groups with all our clients, parents, aides, office staff, and maybe a table full of people like this. And what's important when home care is working right, what values to that? And we had a book called by Dr. Michael O'Connor called Managing by Values. And we adopted it. It says, I don't run the company, the values run the company. So if you're value-based, you're based on values first, and we're just beholden to the values. So we worked it through. It took a couple of years, and we had overnight retreats. We had a survey of every client and employee just to get all this feedback, and we put it together into a document called the BAYADA Way, which we currently follow. We start meetings with us. It's almost, and we have BAYADA, we call them BAYADA Way exercises. And so we adopted our 3 values. The first was compassion. Our clients and their families feel cared for and supported. This is the driver. We work with a spirit of universal faith, hope, and love. If you're not here, you really shouldn't be at BAYADA, right? And a lot of people are looking for something like this. So great. Demonstrate exceptional care and kindness to others. Be led by our hearts. Be respectful. Treat others the way they wish to be treated, which is a little flip of the golden rule. A little more difficult, isn't it? Because not everybody's needs are like yours. They're them and you're you, right? Listen closely. This is my favorite. Listen closely, show empathy, and respond to the needs of others. Just tune in. Client and employee, let's make it work, right? Be friendly, let our smiles be seen and felt. Who wants to work with a grumpy nurse, right? Come on, let's be friendly. So because we're compassionate, we don't wear it on our sleeve. We manifest our care of others through excellent work. We provide home health care with our clients with the highest professional, ethical, and safety standards. Continues to demonstrate the highest level of sound skill and judgment in our work. Demonstrate honesty, commitment, and loyalty to our clients and their families, fellow employees, and organization. Strive to provide the very best service to our clients, set specific goals, and work hard and efficiently to achieve them. Continuously improve our work through evaluation, education, and training. Recognize and reward those who set and maintain the highest standards of excellence. Then, the other way we manifest, home health care is reliability is super important for home health. It's one-on-one. The nurse or aide doesn't come, we have a crisis, right? We have a crisis. So we need reliable people. Key result, our families and their clients and their families rely on us and are able to live their lives to the fullest with a sense of well-being, dignity, and trust. Keep our commitments as promised. If we say we're going to show up, we better show up. Consistently deliver expected results. If we say we're going to do this at this time, we have to. And it's a matter of good business, so it's all a matter of good relations. You have to, you do what you say you're going to do. Don't let people go. That's fulfill our clients' needs properly and thoroughly. Be creative. This is very good for home care. Be creative, flexible, and determined. Get the job done for our clients. Somebody comes in last minute and needs care. What are we going to do? You know, we're moving nurses around, trying to get things set up, get the case started for the family. Communicate clearly and consistently with clients and fellow employees. Then we had a vision. This was mostly me, I would say. I think big. With a strong commitment for each of us, BAYADA will make possible for millions of people worldwide to experience a better quality of life in their own home. Not many people are thinking of millions of people worldwide, but I did. And everybody was okay with it. You know, it's nice to be with a company that has some aspirations. Actually, it's great for employees because they have a company that's growing and gives them a lot of career opportunity. We'll build and maintain a lasting legacy, which I'll tell you about in a little bit, and be the world's most compassionate and trusted team of home health care professionals. Somebody has to be the best agency instead. Let it be us. And if somebody's better, shame on us. We should work harder, right? And sometimes it's just doing what you say you're going to do. And then we added our beliefs. Our clients come first, which is, everybody says that, but it's like I'm interpreting it now. Right now, we're having a severe shortage of nurses and aides. And so we're not able to take all the cases. I'm feeling we're letting people down. It's not like a question of business. It's a question of duty to the people that we're advertising that we offer the service. So take care of them. When we take care of the clients and support the staff, business takes care of itself. As long as you don't get your pay and bill out of whack. You know what I mean? Get that adequate margin to cover everything. But once you get that set, everything is just about service, taking care of people, meeting their needs. We believe our employees are our greatest asset. Basically, they're our only. We only got these buildings because we got New Jersey tax credits. So we're getting like $8,000 a year per person here for 10 years. Okay, so I went out of rented space and came here. But this is not the only thing we own of value. Maybe the computers, they're cheap these days. We've been building relationships and working together are critical to our success as a community of compassionate caregivers. It's teamwork here. There's a whole bunch of people. This group in these buildings support the people in the offices who support the nurses and aides in the home who take care of the clients and the families. We believe in demonstrate honesty and integrity at all times. I don't want a dime that doesn't belong to us. We're pretty old-fashioned. You see that? Abraham Lincoln walked like 5 miles to return change one time. That's my mentality. We believe in providing community service we live and work. And this is the only thing we say about money. We believe the responsibility to strengthen the organization's financial foundation and to support its growth. So, you know, no margin, no mission. You know, I don't care if it's a for-profit or it's a not-for-profit. You have the same problem. You have a set amount of money you're getting, and you're not coming out with a little bit at the end. You're pretty much doomed to failure. So the ownership model, the ownership does not necessarily affect the financial strength of the organization. So we adopted this. We use it all the time. We have these wallet cards. I got this idea from Ritz-Carlton. Every person at Ritz-Carlton has a wallet card. Their slogan is "Ladies and gentlemen serving ladies and gentlemen," which is really honoring the staff. So we have this for all our employees, and we talk about it a lot, and it's on the walls of the offices. You may have seen it when you're walking through. So then I look at this, time's passing. Now this was launched in 2006. So now we're, it's pretty well integrated now. It's been surprisingly, well, first of all, nurses feel this way. That's why they became a nurse. Here, I like to help people, right? And they so the office people needed more formation than the nurses, as they're kind of there already, and it was great. But then I read this, what's my job here? Lasting legacy. Lasting legacy means generations. That has a lot to do with ownership. So I owned it lock, stock, and barrel. Right? I was the sole owner of the company. And I could have, so we had family meetings with our kids. So I can pass it to the next generation. Like Dave is the president, and they're doing a good job. But then we said, well, what about the grandchildren, the great-grandchildren? So you start looking at the history of private companies. They're bought and sold like real estate. Sometimes you don't get any interest in the next generation. Sometimes you get interest, but incompetence. So sometimes you get interest in conflict. The two are fighting, right? So it's kind of not a great story. It's few last, right? There was one. It was Kiko Man. You know Kiko Man? I just studied companies. Kiko Man, the soy sauce company. They've been around for centuries. but they pass it to one person in the next generation. So they go through it. So that's one person, I guess the most capable, gets it, assuming there's some interest there. So they've lasted a long time, but that's kind of unusual. So but then I looked at nonprofits. They lasted longer. They did make me nervous because sometimes they're kind of like slow. In fact, our home health care was primarily delivered by nonprofits when I started, and now they have just a small percentage. They weren't fast enough, adaptive enough, driven enough. This wasn't in their blood. We're Baiada social entrepreneurs. We're here to meet people's needs, adapt, get it done, like get things accomplished, solve the problem. We're not like repeating the same services regularly. There's always aspirational, I guess I would say. But I said, I'll go nonprofit. So I decided to go nonprofit. And so I formed it. So Baiada's here. I formed a new company, a Delaware company called Baiada. And at the beginning of 2019, I went to sleep one night in the paperwork, and at 2 o'clock in the morning, it went from me, the sole owner, to being owned by the nonprofit. And I woke up the next morning and said, I didn't own anything, but I'm good with it. I had savings, I'd saved money. And now I think it's, well, it helps, I think that it helps in the marketplace in terms of our trust and perception. But I want to make sure it doesn't hurt us in the marketplace. Oh, I work for a nonprofit, I don't have to work as fast or as hard. No, here you work harder and faster, right? Because we're Baiada, for God's sakes, right? And it's worked out well. So now we have a 10-person board, independent board. So I don't have control anymore. And we appointed David Baiada, my son, went to Wharton with him, right? He's the president. Things are going okay. We're growing. Baiada's been mostly organic, so we're growing. So I think we're up 10% over last year. Up 10% over last year. And now we're broken into multiple specialties, which each should be a reproducible business of $1 billion. That's our general thought. So Medicare certified home health, $1 billion. Hospital should be $1 billion. Assistive care state program should be $1 billion. So we're looking for scalability and volume on a long-term basis. So each unit is kind of like we're decentralized each ways. They're all lined on this. They're all lined on name. They have common back office operations, but in the marketplace, there are different referral sources, different payment sources, and they're all a little different. So if you need help at home, you're paying privately, you'll get different with the Medicare. Or if you need end of life, that'll be the big coordinate the services between them. So my hopes for the future for Baiada is we actually say we want to make this come true. And we recruit against it. So now there's a lot of people out there that are looking for something like this. They're looking for something like this. And so we figure if we just are clear about it, hey, join us. This is who we are. But if you want to go to Wall Street, go to Wall Street. Like, we're fine. But if you want to have a meaningful career helping other people, come here. And I want people to have good careers and make a lot of money because you had a lot of responsibility. You're going to get paid market rates, right? So we take care of a lot of people, and you do a great job. You're going to be paid market rates. You should be able to go have a great job. Like we have a shortage of people for high-paid jobs. It's crazy, isn't it? I think a lot of companies do. They have some great jobs, and they can't get the person. It's like the sports team. How many sports teams are paying their coaches a lot of money for losing records, right? Right? They can't find them. They can't find winners. So, and the good news, our market isn't as competitive as the NFL, right? And so it's much better. So I'm excited about it in the future because I think we're on the right track. But my fear is that we're not going to get the right people that are committed, and you can get caught in a trap. Our biggest single problem is shortage of people, and the biggest shortage of people is lack of reimbursement. Home health care is reimbursed less than hospitals. What's this about? Come on. We can take care of people, better outcomes at a lower cost. But the system is so calcified. It takes a while to change it. So we're like working at it. Right? So that's the story from my birth to where you are and into the future. So I'm open to any kind of questions.
The question I have for you is, how did you get through COVID? I mean, that was a huge problem for being able to go into people's homes and taking care of them and meeting your obligations. And people are told to stay at home, lock the doors.
I think business dropped off like 20%, just like that, but then it came back. Everybody had mask up. Everybody had to mask up. The hardest was when the clients had COVID. Now we got a whole other set of protocols. So we had to follow all the state BAYADA protocols, state protocols, federal protocols. In some cases, they're like putting full gowns on. So it was the whole COVID thing was very tough on all nurses and healthcare personnel. Except in hospitals, they burned out a lot of nurses. So it exacerbated the shortage. We're kind of back to more normal now. But the residual effects of the decrease in the number of caregivers still has a huge effect. It's great to have meetings like this, like that. We didn't have it for a long time, right? I was here yesterday and they had a big meetings here for people around the country. It was nice to see everybody. So but it was, actually we were resumed. Actually, we had to lay off a lot of people. We thought the business would really crash. So there was a layoffs, then we hired them back. Like everybody did. I think everybody had a crazy time, right? Figured it wasn't as bad as we could be in Ukraine, right? Yes. Right? It's just something you deal with. It's like the firemen. Just deal with it. Just deal with it. Let's move on. Right? Mm-hmm.
So, Mark, we have a question from Zoom, actually. Ed Henkler has kind of going back to your story about how you grew up. So it seems that you very thoughtfully developed your idea in terms of deciding what to do, how to build your organization. Of your other siblings, was this your approach unique, or were they the same way as well? And if it was unique, what do you think was different for you than it was for your siblings?
Yeah, that was interesting because my brothers and I have 5 younger brothers, and my brother had a company that went public, Mel. So, and he was active at Drexel. He was on the board and he contributed to others, the Baiada Center for Entrepreneurship. So we were on a panel, like a room, many more people, and this is Drexel once telling the Baiada story, basically. I think it was, so one brother was a pilot, and then he has a whole program he's trying to revise the air traffic control system of the country. Another built a company doing granite and tops and sockets. Mel is a tech entrepreneur. He took a company and went public. Right, so now he's on our board working with me, and now he and I and a couple of others trying to start a nursing school to end the nursing shortage. One brother is schizophrenic, which is sad, and the other was a teacher. And now he's retired, and now he's wants to revolution education through VR. So everybody's kind of like energetic, trying to get things done. So there must have been something. I think I always say, our mother taught us to be good boys, work hard, right? Be polite, be hardworking, be honest. My father is more division. There's a world out there, be somebody in the world, and I think the nuns taught me to take care of people.
Good morning. I'm Jennifer French from the Ronald McDonald House of Southern New Jersey. I want to thank Jerry for inviting me today. I had an interesting concept. How have you overcome the American tendency to place their parents in homes, which I would think COVID helped build that back up again? But also, have you considered expanding into Europe, where it's much more traditional to keep the parents at home? Number one. Number two, I found it really interesting that you say immigrant ethic. I love it. I'm also second generation as opposed to work ethic, because that's what we're built on. And I really hope that you go out and speak to high schools and colleges, because I think it's a message that is just so watered down now. And you are hitting millions of people through the ripple effect.
Yeah.
So have you considered expanding into Europe?
Yeah, well, we are in Europe. So it's pretty clear that most people would prefer to stay home if they can. So they'll go to an assisted living or CCRC as a last resort. It's often too late, too. So they're kind of like want to stay home, and the kids have to sometimes. It's a tough conversation. A mom finally has to go. So they naturally want to stay home. We're trying to make it possible. for longer, with more services and reliable services. And this, we're in Ireland. The Irish nurses are good. They tend to be a little more reliable than like Irish nurses. The UK just got back from South Korea. They don't really have home health care. We're kind of like trying to introduce it there. In fact, they don't have any post-acute service. They're in the hospital for like 15 days. So they're kind of, there's no rehab centers or anything or home health care. So they're like, and they're growing. They have a lot of money. They're suddenly have more money than they used to have. And so New Zealand, India, in India. So there's families all over, and it seems it's family based. And the family, they have their mom. They want to take care of their mom or their dad, and how are they going to do it? And then they need some extra help to do it.
Well, I think you should go back to your Italian roots too, because Italy and Spain, it would be a huge success there. And the last thing I wanted to say is,
but I'm working on my next one is Nairobi.
Oh, that's cool.
I'm working on Nairobi.
Well, Jean-Paul Sartre also said, "Hell is other people." So thank goodness you didn't read that one.
Yeah, he was also a Marxist.
Oh, thank you. So I'm curious about your method of transition into being a nonprofit, and did you think about being an ESOP, employee stock ownership, and why did you choose nonprofit?
Good question. We studied it a lot. In fact, we actually took a trip to Germany to meet the Bosch Corporation, which is 93% owned by a nonprofit. Actually, it's a Northern European, and more than half the capitalization on the Copenhagen Stock Exchange is companies that are controlled by nonprofits. Carlsberg here, right now, you wouldn't think it, right? But and ESOPs is when you still have when you have a funding problem because everyone wants to cash out one day, and it doesn't necessarily. You think, oh, this is good, everybody will be more positive and working. It tends to be management. In my reading, I read a story about an ESOP where the owners went on strike because they didn't like the management they hired. It's funny, isn't it? Because it doesn't, it's the management and the relationships that trump, not the ownership style. And so it doesn't work internationally because it's only a US model. So we just kind of simplified it, and we could have had a nonprofit that owned an operating company. We just said, because of the work we do, it qualifies for a 501c3. So we get multiple savings in other places to do the work. If we were Bosch, we couldn't, right? Because you can't be tax exempt when you're Bosch, because the work isn't charitable. So we took advantage of the fact that we are do charitable work. We compete with other charities, and let's just go there and simplify the whole thing. Just simplify the whole thing. Classic style. Independent board, points management sets the goal, strategies, and culture, and then the management implements it on a long-term basis. We considered it. Including the other one is Patagonia just went. He formed a trust. The industrial trust was the same thing that is the owner. But so we could qualify to be a nonprofit, so that kind of gave us a different option.
Thank you. Chuck McClister with Elwyn. Did I hear you correctly that you were the sole owner before you did make the transition to nonprofit? Do you think had you had shareholders or other owners, you could have made that transition as smoothly?
Well, it depends who they were. That's the problem. That's when you're breaking it up, and now you lose that. I guess if I would have I had them and they were minorities and I bought them out, right? So I had to give them an exit. Actually, I gave a lot of money to long-term employees. In the newspaper, I took $20 million and gave it to everybody based on length of service. So I had some aides that got that. 25-year aides got a nice big check. But probably if I maybe bought them out, but I would. Depends how the agreements would be written. I would have power to drag them along, right? So there's all kinds of rights. That's why I stayed single ownership for a long time. So I wouldn't be encumbered by all that stuff.
Yeah, it's an unusual direction to go from for-profit to nonprofit, and I'm wondering if that shared ownership might be a barrier to other organizations that have the same.
Patagonia just did it. I don't know how with the ownership. Also, the woman who owns Epic. Epic, the huge and dominant record system for hospitals, Epic Health, that she flipped a few years ago to a trust. But probably if you're in that mindset, the people with you do the same, as long as if they have a financialist to get some money out to cover their financial investment, they'll probably do that. Yeah. People exit, they're going to exit sometime generally, right? It's hard to pass your business to the next generation, right? So they may want to, they can exit anyway, so as long as it's a fair exit for them. Or they may be aligned with you.
Hi, Mark. Thank you for sharing your time with us today. You mentioned several times labor shortages and labor issues. How have you sort of navigated those, especially through the pandemic?
Well, we're doubling our recruiting efforts. And in our case, we're competing for a limited supply of nurses. Nurses primarily because they have to be licensed and aides, because with hospitals and others. So we're doubling our recruiting. We have an advantage over hospitals, and the nurses like our work. It's more one-on-one. The hospitals are like, they're crazy. They're like pulled all over the place. They're getting burned out. We have more of a reason a nurse became a nurse is the work we do. But in the Berlin County Times, one of our nurses wrote an editorial, a letter to the editor about a year ago, saying, I love Joey. She was taking care of his little boy, Joey. He was a pediatric client at home who needed shift care because he's so compromised. But I can't work with Joey all the time because I need more money, so I work at the hospital. Oh my God. So she needs a higher pay and benefits. I get it. So we're now, we just had a pricing meeting. How can we get what the hospital gets so we can have her take care of Joey where she wants to be? So reimbursement is key. That's what we're doing. And then separately from BAYADA, but it's not going to get any benefits in the short run. I'm working on starting a nursing school. It takes a while to build that up. But thinking big, I want 100 schools across the country in the long run to actually increase the number of nurses coming in. Like a farm system, yeah. Also, we're doubling down on the BAYADA Way. Nurses want to be part of something like this. So it's kind of make it a movement rather than just a job. You're advertising your pay, your benefits, and all that. It's kind of make it. We're here to serve society and make a difference.
Hi, Mark. David Simpson. Segueing from your hospital comment, I think you already answered my question, but is there any plan for BAYADA to get into home acute care services, hospital at home?
Well, in some ways, first of all, hospital at home as it is now, the Medicare program will let a hospital divert someone to the home and to pay them the same rate as the hospital. So there's a whole other group of similar people that we take care of, but they get paid 10 times as much. Right? Because they're getting the hospital rate. So yes, we'll probably do more. It's very short term though. But we'll probably do, over my time, we didn't take care of people on ventilators, no IV lines. So I've seen the technical care and the complex care at home go up my career. And I imagine through digital and tele, it's going to even get more so we can maintain them at home. My goal would be to have them not even go to the ER, just they qualify, they'll start getting a higher level of services immediately. We just need them. They're not going to give us the hospital rate because the hospitals have much more history, negotiation. They're the center of the universe. We're kind of like stepchildren. So we have to move up here. We have to move up. I would say maybe we'd have our own health plan, and now we're in charge. Right? Mm-hmm. United doesn't need the money, right?
So we have another question I want to get from the chat here for all the folks on Zoom. So the question is, what are one or two of the biggest impacts you foresee technology making in the home health care business?
Well, I just mentioned we have IVs at home, ventilators at home. I was just talking to the guy who set up Stefan. We do home monitoring, a lot of home monitoring now, weights, blood pressure, and other things. You just get monitoring systems. So I think has increased and will increase more, and probably faster communications with the home, with medical professionals. Start bringing doctors and NPs into the home to support the nursing.
Your transition to nonprofit, most industries seem to go the other way. Is there a financial prerequisite for the company or the industry that you're in to be able to make it possible for a for-profit to go to nonprofit? When you look at healthcare, hospitals are going the other way.
Well, we were for-profit. When I entered the industry, it was mostly not-for-profit. But then competitively, the for-profits took over, and there's a number of national companies, public companies on there too. Some work on unusual flipping the other way, because LHC was a big one. I know Keith, he started it, he built it up. They just sold to Optum, which is owned by United. And so I think they sold for $5 billion. Right, so I think he owns 16%, so he gets like $1 billion. I just gave mine away. I didn't need the money. So there's not many people like me out there. The Patagonian guy just did it. But most people will take the money off the table. They'll sell out to it. That would be the normal. In our society, people want to exit. And then after the exit, maybe if they do another one, they exit again. They're really cool, right? So we're here for the long run. We're here for adding trusted services in the communities we serve. I hope nobody ever needs a Baiada nurse, but if they do, I hope we're there for them. And we're trying to build like the fire department. Like I'm trying to create something that lasts through value. I don't want the money. I mean, I like money. I worked really hard. Money was really important, and it still is. I'm really careful with money, but it's not mine. Everything I'm doing now, it's not mine. It's Baiada's. But Baiada we'll be careful with every penny and every minute to serve our clients. We have to no waste. The Japanese model, no waste. Waste is you waste a minute, you waste a penny, you're wasting something. Take it out so we can get all of that services and pay the staff more. That'd be great. Pay the staff more because we're competitive. Right? So get rid of what. So I'm still crazy about money, but not for my own pocket, but to make the whole system work better.
Thank you for sharing your story. Awesome. So I'm in the pharmaceutical industry. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah. Put a little closer.
Can you hear me better now?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm in the pharmaceutical industry, and of course we run clinical trials, for instance. Just wondering, because you mentioned, the pay rates are different from hospitals and that kind of thing. Well, in clinical trials, we now have experts who are going into people's homes, like your healthcare professionals, to actually help patients participate in clinical trials. Guessing that the rates might be a little bit higher there. Have you considered taking your company into clinical trials?
Actually, we're actually doing clinical trials. Patient support programs for high-end drugs in Korea, like Humira, and as they can't call on doctors there. And we're doing trials in Korea and India, but not the United States, because although there's a shortage, we can't fill the cases we have now, let alone take up a trial, which is, they're all a little unique, and they're unique. And so the compensation doesn't cover they're all like one-offs. So we thought about it. In fact, the Indian guy was just over Fish about a month ago, and he says, "Oh, let's do trials in the U.S." Well, it's hard to get an organized staff to do it. So,
talk about your legacy and how do you determine what organizations you want to support? Because you've done great things through a lot of these organizations.
you mean like personally?
Yes, personally.
Oh, personally? We support, well, my wife and I support a lot of education and inner city stuff. Lucy, she's especially likes Lucy, Lifting Up Camden Youth, Kristen Quinn, that's a really good organization. A lot of run the capital campaign for Newman University, but we're starting our own university now. So, and I think most of the money I've saved, I will use to start a university or donate to Baiada when we die. Yeah, I'm not gonna, I don't want to enrich the kids.
Thank
Give them a
you.
little bit. Give them a little bit. Yeah.
Beacon is the premier executive networking organization serving the Mid-Atlantic region. To learn more, go to beaconforlife.org.